All right, cool. So here's a few things that you'll learn if you stick around. Two things, 2 points from me, 3 points from Yassine. The first one from me is you're gonna get to know the best provider to send email, especially at scale, and the best volume you can send. You need to send per sender to get replies. Your turn, Yassine.
Yeah, we're also going to look into the best day and time to send emails. Got some very interesting insights actually there that surprised me myself. We also got deliverability best practices, meaning how do you need to send to stay under the radar of Google and Outlook, and then mailbox provider comparisons.
Yeah, whenever we do those webinars, I always extract some data and I get surprised by some data as well, which is fun. It's actually a good exercise. All right, so before we start, why should you listen to me? Why should you listen to Yassine? So basically, I'll do a quick pitch of who I am and why you should listen to me. I've been in cold outreach for 11 years. I've been starting Quick Mail, so 11 years ago. And every year there is always some new things coming up, and every year you have to adapt, change. We invented, for example, the inbox rotation in 2019 in order to be able to sort of scale your outreach without necessarily have scalability issues. I authored a cold email book in 2015. The strategy is still valid, but the tactics not so much anymore. I've done 400 podcast episodes, almost. I think it's 392 or whatever, with my co-host Jack Reamer. He's the owner of a lead generation agency, so I'm the owner of a SaaS tool for sending outreach. So we kind of have got those 2 point of views. I've done also a Udemy course, although I'm not really maintaining this course. What's Quick Mail? For those who don't know, our mission is basically to help small and medium businesses to sell more. And the way we're doing it is with email automation and LinkedIn automation. How we're different from anyone else on the market. Basically, deliverability is really our main core focus, as well as stats. I'm a geek, I'm a nerd. You're going to see a lot of stats today. Hopefully, you're going to get a lot of value and actionable insights with this webinar. We're also really good for agencies. That's also something we focused on very early on to enable people to basically scale. We can scale very well. And we're offering now LinkedIn unlimited senders for people who are looking to move into LinkedIn and just want one tool to do email and LinkedIn. And that's basically us.
Yeah, sounds good. So on my side, let me actually start with something funny. Today, I'm traveling in Asia to meet a couple entrepreneurs, and just yesterday, I've gotten this virus infection. Essentially, 12 hours ago, I've had an emergency doctor pulled like vitamin into my blood
Shit.
as an infusion. So if you see me, guys, a little lower energy, I'm trying my best. I don't like disappointing people, and I know I don't take it for granted that you guys are all here. And for all the data that we've gotten here, it would be too much of a shame to miss out on this. So I'm gonna do my best. If you guys see me coughing, you know why now. So that being said, my entrepreneurial journey started like 10 years ago. I'm not gonna bore you guys with that. I founded Leads Formula, a lead generation agency in 2022, and at some point we've gotten really successful, and I started paying like over $10,000 a month on Google Workspace and Outlook accounts. And it was like a pain to manage, right? Like setting up one inbox already takes like 10, 15 minutes manually. And there was literally no solution back then to this problem. So I thought there has to be a better way. This can't be true. And I thought, why can't we build an email infrastructure similar to what ActiveCampaign did for newsletter type of emails, but specifically for cold email outreach? And that's what I did with our technical co-founder, Mo. And it worked so well that we grew to 1 million in ARR in months because we saved people a ton of time and a ton of money. Over 20,000 people follow me for cold email advice, and I'm basically talking about cold email every day on my YouTube channel and sending over 100 million emails a month.
And actively on LinkedIn too, right?
That's true. Feel free to connect on LinkedIn. If you guys like what I'm talking about here, keep in mind that I have 10% of my brain capacity. You're going to love the LinkedIn content. Mailscale, our mission is essentially to be the simplest way to send cold emails that get results affordably. And the way we achieve this is by letting you create mailboxes in literally 60 seconds, no matter if you want to create 50 or 500 or 5,000 mailboxes. They will all be perfectly configured and as low as $1 a month per mailbox, as opposed to sometimes $7 a month with Google and Outlook. And what makes us unique is that we've built a completely self-owned email infrastructure that can get blocked with our own IP spaces, our own servers, We have dedicated deliverability specialists to help you get results. I'm going to get to this point later. This is extremely important right now. And for the best option, in my humble opinion, not biased at all, for high volume sellers
Not at all.
specifically, because we have a couple of features and functionalities to manage inboxes at scale in our dashboard.
Nice. Well, okay. So we basically split the webinar into two. I'm going to present some of the data and the hard-coded data behind QuickMail for some of the questions that I had myself. And then Yassine's going to do the same after. All right, so the first question I asked myself for this webinar, this is a webinar about like, how can you actually send at scale? So the first question I asked myself, and I looked at the data, were, you know, what are the typical campaign size that people are doing on QuickMail? And so I looked at basically all the campaigns for, you know, this year, and it's clear to see that there is, you know, this sort of like logarithmic view where most people are actually sending smaller size campaign, and the higher the campaign size, the less people are actually doing it, which kind of makes sense, especially between 0 and 100. Sometimes you have a lot of people doing like 1 or 2 email campaign just to test it before they go ahead and then they ramp up stuff. But obviously, you know, this is 5,000. It goes actually pretty further down the line, but I kind of like to cut it, otherwise you wouldn't see anything. So I zoomed it a little bit. And if we look between like 0 and 500 campaign, you do see a spike or a sweet spot, I like to call it, between like 90 and 120. And that's usually where people get good results as well. So the sort of like recommendation or insight I will say is like, the sweet spot that we have is between 100 and 110 leads per campaign. And that makes it very easy to fill the metrics. If you're sending 100 people a cold email and 10 replies, it's easy, it's 10% reply rate, right? The other thing is it's also easy to manage. If you have just one campaign, you don't need like a ton of inboxes, you don't need a ton of variations. It's like, it's in between doing full scale automation and manual type of campaign. So those ones are very common, they're very easy. They're also a great way to sort of like get in the game. Now, you should keep your campaign small unless you actually add more tools to do that. So by tools, I mean, when you're going to do at scale, you're going to have like forces working against you. So if you need A/B testing, you're going to need volume. So you're going to need to move to more than 100, because if you do A/B testing on just 100 leads, you're not going to get meaningful results. So that's something to keep in mind. The second thing is you're going to need more inboxes, because you can't scale one inbox to a lot of leads to contact. And the third one is going to have to look at deliverability and not always send the same message from your account and from your domain. And we got something QuickMail called Reward with AI, which basically will use AI to do a massive spin tax on your entire text. So every message you're sending is unique. The second question I asked myself is like, can actually a big campaign get results? Like, do they actually get results? It's fine to send, you know, campaigns of 100, 150 leads, but what happened with the people who actually send 5,000 leads? Do they actually get results, or do they actually just, you know, basically waste and burn their leads? So hopefully you're curious too. I got the answer, and we could see very quickly. And again, this is not a full thing, but you could see like we go on to, you know, probably like 2 million email or 2 million leads. It's actually leads, not emails. So a lead is basically you contact someone, and then you could also send like follow-up. So if you send 3 emails to the same person, it's just 1 lead. And so you can see that the vast majority like send just a few, contact just a few leads per campaign. But even at scale, like you could see like this one is like more than 1 million, and it's already like getting some replies, even more than 2% reply. This one's been like one of the outsiders, like 1.8 million leads in their campaign, in one campaign, 1.8 million leads, and they still get like 2.80. Yeah, I mean, it's cool, right? Yeah, it's a good campaign, right? I mean, you know, would you actually want to be this one, 50%, but you're kind of like sending to just a few people, or like 1,800,000 and then get only 2 points? I mean, the 2.87 if I can get, and my market is there, right? So obviously
Absolutely. We got a good question, by the way, from Steve and Don.
Yeah.
They were asking with the previous chart, I believe, if it's based on day, week, month.
Day, week, months. I think we're gonna have to. This is total. This is for the entire campaign. So your campaign is running. How much leads do you have into? That's basically
Mm. And then
basically
it's
that.
reply rate, right?
I don't think we have touched reply rate yet, did we? No, it's just a number of leads, a number of campaign who contain that volume, right?
Gotcha.
So you got less and less campaigns that have high volume. So that's basically how it goes. So, if you have those questions like that are not onto the slides that I'm talking about, it's probably best to keep them on Q&A. Be more than happy to revisit some of the slides that makes more sense and that helps with the flow. Okay, so this is a big scale, so I decided to sort of like zoom in a little bit. And so now it's 50,000 leads. And you can see you still get like some great results, even like with 30,000 leads. So you got that guy here, that guy here. Those are kind of like exceptions, but you could very quickly see that it's hard to keep like high reply rate at scale, right? And did you observe those similar stuff for you, Yasin?
Yeah, I think generally yes. I think the reasons we're going to cover a little and later on in the video, they definitely cover also the email script, right? And I can use almost the same script and send it to thousands of people. It's very
Nice.
easy for Google and Outlook to see that you're sending the same email, that you're one bulk sender. So you need to kind of find ways around that. And your solution there was one of the solutions for that, to create a lot of different campaigns with different scripts and so on. So
Yep.
definitely seeing similar stuff.
Nice. Yeah, looking forward to see your stats. Here I draw a sort of triangle, and I think it's a triangle of death. What I mean by that is like you're not getting great results at any of the scales here. It's not worth to do cold outreach at this point, right? Because it's really bad. You're either connecting like just a few people, but then you're not getting great result at all. So you're contacting like 100 people, you may be getting 2, and that's your campaign. So you got a campaign and you got like 2 replies. This is not a great campaign. But as you're growing in terms of volume, then it's okay to get not as many reply, but you still get like in absolute number, your campaign will still lead some replies. But of course, if you're doing like this guy, for example, you're like more than 40,000 leads in your campaign and you're very close to zero. It's like, why are you doing that? Right? But if you're at 40,000 and you're this guy, it's already better than this guy here in terms of the absolute number of replies that you get. So it's always like a balance, but you want to avoid at all point to be in that sort of like triangle where we're not getting enough results for the scale we're at, because usually that's when people give up. It's like, well, I tried my campaign, 100 leads, I got 2 replies, I'm giving up. Like, that's not great. So either you want small volume, like I'm contacting 100 leads and I get 30 replies, then that's okay. Or you want high volume, but you still want more than just 2 replies. So basically that's the absolute. I zoomed it even more actually, and then you could see here, like as your volume increase, and there is really that pressure about replies. Yeah, I like those guys here. I always like the exception, and that's the one I actually just always go investigate on the account. Like, what are they doing well that other people aren't doing? Anyway, okay. So quick takeaway here is like it's much easier to get results at low scale. It requires less technical understanding and tactical approach for the infrastructure. If you go for low scale, avoid the triangle of death. Like I say, it's no one's finding it fun to send to 100 people and receiving 2 replies. At a high scale, it can still work even if you got a low reply rate. So it's fine to get only a 2.8% if you can send to 1.8 millions. That leads to a lot of people, and I would say you're doing exceptionally well at this scale. Now, there's 2 main forces. There's more, but there's 2 main forces I'm always thinking when people scale. One is called campaign fatigue, which Yasin was talking about. Like you're sending always kind of the same message, always the same angle, or it's a template that a lot of people's been used and it's been overused, and now people are not really receptive to it. We got, like I mentioned, Reword with AI, which will actually just mingle automatically all your messages that you're sending. We're actually doing something cool, Yasin. We're actually doing that now. It will automatically be able to translate it into any language you want. So you'll be able to put the language of your lead, and then it will automatically translate to the language of the lead. Anyway, that's just a random comment. I found that cool. And then the last thing is, the second thing is the domain reputation. So your domain reputation will be at stress. So you probably will need to create a lot of domains, because the reputation is attached to the domain, not to the inbox. So if you have 5 inbox into one domain and one inbox is starting to go bad, you can bet all the other inboxes will go bad too. So we have something called deliverability AI, which will basically automatically monitor your senders and automatically switch them when they're not doing great, which enable you to, again, keep your campaign at scale. All right, so the other question I ask myself at this point is like, okay, cool, you can get replies at high scale. Even though there's not a lot of people doing that, you can still get replies. But how much inboxes are people at high scale using in order to get replies? This is another graph here, which basically means the number of inboxes that people are using in general. And then you can see that a lot of people are not using a lot of inbox, and you sort of like have some sort of basic numbers that people sort of like aim for. And you could see like, oh, I need to have like 200 inboxes, or I need to have 300 inboxes. I do love this guy. This guy's got 446 inboxes for their campaign, and they got 40% reply rate. So that's awesome. That's a good one to have. Same for this one, 200. So there's no really straight correlation between the number of inboxes you're using and the actual reply rate, but you could see some people are doing really, really well. Mind you, this is not necessarily at scale. They could be like, that campaign could actually be like, 300 people, and so every inbox is only sending 3 email, that type of thing. So we don't have the volume here on this graph, but it does mean that it tends to have like a good effect to actually have more inboxes than just 1 or 2 inboxes. The next things I'm asking myself is like, okay, fair enough. People are using a lot of inboxes. How many emails should I send per inbox in order to get replies? Again, there is like a correlation. The more emails you're sending per inbox, very quickly you're not going to get a great reply rate, right? So you could have like 700 inboxes, and each inbox is sending 1 email versus having 1 inbox sending 700. And so I will encourage you to actually just send less emails per inbox. And I think we got another graph after. Yeah, there's the zoom in version with 1 tick for each of them. And so you could see like very quickly when you start sending more than 20 emails per inboxes, you're starting to have more trouble to actually get good replies, 40 as well. And then from that point on, it's pretty much always the same. Like after 60, 80, you're kind of in the same range of reply rate. Cool. Okay, so I did the same thing for really large campaigns, and the really large campaigns are pretty much using the same logic as small campaign in terms of they're not sending a lot of emails per inboxes. You do have a few ones that are still managing to get a great reply rate by sending 250 emails per inbox, but again, those are kind of like exceptions. They're not really, it's not really happening a lot here. And I probably wouldn't encourage you to actually do that unless you have a message that people absolutely want to hear about. All right, a few more slides, and I'm sorry, I'm probably like giving you information overload, so I'll summary after. But this is basically the same slide for everyone. I could actually skip this one. And then the final question I ask myself is like, do I get the same results if I'm sending from a Gmail inbox or from an Outlook inbox or from any other type of inboxes? And so I looked at it, and this is basically number of emails sent per Gmail. So I can give you a recommendation of how many emails you should use per inbox per day on Gmail. And so this basically turns around like between 12 and 14. That's, I think I zoom. Nah, okay, I don't zoom. But that's basically between 12 and 14 emails per day. You can go up to 20, and then you kind of like have a gap here after 25. Like it gets actually kind of like penalized. So I will say stay under 20 emails per day for Gmail. For Outlook, Outlook doesn't get as great results, sadly. The recommendation is about the same. You should send between 10 and 15 emails maximum per inboxes on Outlook, but you should not expect necessarily great results. So that was kind of a shocker to me because Outlook used to have like a really good reputation when it comes to sending emails, but it's not getting replies at the moment. So if you're sending from Outlook, you may experience some problems for getting replies, even at low volume. For other ones, it's always a very, very complicated topic because you do have custom infrastructure that are doing super well and some that are doing super bad. And it's always kind of like, I keep saying like, you got the big devil that you can play with, which is Google and Outlook. And for the other infrastructure, it's hard to always know, like, is that going to work? Is that not going to work? Like Yassine say, you need to have people always on top of their infrastructure to make sure they keep on delivering. And so that's kind of like all over the place because obviously there's different provider that people are using. But again, you could see there's still that, you know, the less emails you're sending per inboxes, the better per day, the better you're actually going to do. So recommendation, Gmail is king when it comes to getting replies at low volume. You can send more emails per inbox on custom domain provider. Oh, I didn't mention that. So if I come back to the previous screen, actually, you could see that you're actually getting like still some really good results at higher numbers. They don't seem to get penalized as much as if you're sending through Google or through Gmail. So if you're planning for low number of inboxes and high volume, Gmail or Outlook is probably not the way to go. And then the last one is obviously in all the documents I've shown you, all the stats I've shown you, obviously there are some problems. The data are not pure in a sense that you may have people with different skills. So some people are better at cold outreach than others. Some people are contacting some industries that are easier and some industries that are harder. And again, the audience, as in, you know, a CEO or a developer or an HR person, they tend to respond differently and so on. So within that aggregation factor, these are the sort of like information I can give you. Everyone's following? I got a last thing. Last question I ask myself is like, what happened when I'm actually, what volume should I send to each provider? So not necessarily, so if I have a Gmail inbox, but I'm contacting Outlook or another email provider, I want to know like how likely are they to reply based on the email provider. So I'm gonna go very quickly over those ones. This is for Gmail. So if you're contacting Gmail, this is what you should expect in terms of replies. If you look at the difference with Outlook, and I'm gonna switch between the two, it's not really that much different, right? So it is slightly for Gmail, but mostly if you're contacting Gmail or Outlook, you can expect to get the same sort of reply rate, like people willing to reply to you. So I will probably tend to say, grab Gmail, it doesn't matter who the recipient is. For others, that's kind of the same. So pretty much the same picture. I was kind of disappointed here, meaning you can just grab whatever your provider is, go for any other provider, and it's probably going to be more or less the same results. This is a cool thing. I just added that to QuickMail today. It's basically a breakdown of your leads automatically. So you should see automatically what's your share of prospects on your account. So I can see that right now in QuickMail, this is my own account. Then I can see that most of my leads, and that's not a reflection of all the leads on QuickMail. The reflection of all the leads is like 30, 30, 30, which is like 30% Gmail, 30% Outlook, and 30% the rest. For my account specifically, this is mostly Gmail. So all I'm interested in is figuring how can I actually inbox better with Gmail, because that's basically my my target audience. And that also means that if I'm joining an auto warmer, I would want to make sure that most of the inbox in my auto warmer are about Gmail, because this is my split for my leads. All right, sorry, I've been very fast. So yeah, like I share, my recommendation is like recipient doesn't matter nearly as much as the sender provider. So pay really good attention to your sender provider. And at the same time, for sort of like, I've been burned in the past, is always have backup providers. So even if, for example, Outlook or custom SMTP doesn't necessarily inbox better, I will still have all of those three, custom SMTP, maybe even two providers, Gmail and Microsoft, because in turns, they will screw you up. Like we had like last year in July, Microsoft released something and pretty much all of our senders were having problems. And before that, there was Google. So they keep on alternative. So it's always great to have a backup and not just rely on one provider. And that's a good one because we can hear about Yasin and Mailscale.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Jeremy, for all those insights. A couple of things that I definitely found also extremely interesting and
Nice.
that also are similar to the data that I've gathered. Okay, let's get right into it, guys. I'm very excited to share what I've gathered here. So, first of all, something that a lot of us forget with this whole cold email thing is that a lot of it is to make sure that Google and Outlook can't see you're sending bulk emails. That's why we're doing this whole shebang of buying these secondary domains and more mailboxes and inbox rotation. It's all so that Google and Outlook can see that we're one sender sending bulk emails because they really don't like that. They're primarily ad platforms. They want you to spend a lot of money on ads. And they're really not a fan of you spamming their network and their emails and getting a lot of results and money that way. So the way we address this is by spreading volume across domains and mailboxes and reducing the fingerprint on emails. Most of you guys don't do this enough, and that causes literally all the deliverability issues, which I'm going to show you guys in this video. So first of all, infrastructure setup. Here are a couple of the new best practices kind of that work right now in order, again, to kind of make it look like we're actually a normal sender. We're not a bulk email spammer. And these are the kind of results or criteria that change all the time as well, unfortunately, which is very frustrating because you guys need to keep staying up to date. But that's also you have to give you guys a compliment there for being on this webinar because you're in the best spot for that. All right, so this is similar data to what Jeremy already said. Up to 5 mailboxes per domain, 7 to 14-day warm-up period, because when you buy new domains, they're fresh. Google and Outlook check and see when you bought a new domain. And if you buy a new domain and send 500 emails on the next day, it's just very, very much of a spammy behavior. Up to 30
I got lots
campaign
of
emails per
friends,
day.
Yasin.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A lot of companies. That's why I keep
That's right.
buying new domains. I create 10 companies a day. Anyways, up to 30 warm-up emails per day, up to 20 campaign emails per day. This is very similar to what Jeremy showed you guys. Just a couple of years ago, or like a year ago, actually, it was like 50 emails, still very safe, 70, 80. But
Yep.
now it's like it gets lower and lower. So essentially, the calculation here is if you guys want to contact 10,000 prospects a month, which is like a good sweet spot to get the first 10, 20, 30, 40 sales meetings a month, which a lot of people want as a primary goal, then you need 50 mailboxes, 10 emails, 10 domains times 5 mailboxes. Pro tips here that you guys probably haven't heard of yet. We're going very nerdy here, but this really, really, really improves the results, which is to increase the reply rate of warm-up emails to 80% while sending cold emails. So this sounds very complicated. What does this mean? Well, the warm-up is a process that a lot of sending tools have where it sends emails with accounts back and forth with each other. And if it lands in the spam folder, they automatically put it back into the inbox. And that way your domain and mailbox stays healthy. It's a process that is a result of, again, this whole shebang here that we had to kind of come up with all in the cold email space. And what Google and Outlook cares a lot about is how many replies do you get back? Like how many people react to your cold emails or like to your emails in general of an account? If you send 10,000 emails and two people reply, it literally shows them that whatever you send, it's trash, right? And they don't like that, obviously. So what they do is they look at how many people reply. And if you increase the reply rate of the warm-up, which you can do in a lot of tools, a lot of sending tools, from the usual 20, 30% to 80%, then your overall reply rate of your whole account increases. And that way you can send emails at scale while landing in the inbox. Pro tip number 2 is adjust the wait time between emails to over 7 minutes. So some of the sending tools have like a minute or so by default. And then without you even knowing it right now, you're sending all your cold emails in the first minutes at 9 a.m., which is, again, super easy behavior for Google and Outlook to predict that you're kind of like a spam sender. So by adding this, it gets spaced out even more throughout the day, which is more realistic. All right, copy rules. This is the second rule, right? The first one was spreading the volume. The second one was reducing the fingerprint. How do we reduce the fingerprint? One of the things is as much spin tags and personalization as possible. So what Jeremy said there was very interesting as well, using advanced AI to create a lot of variations. We do a lot of spin tags still as well. So this is spin tags, where has different variations of words essentially, and you can easily create this with these like brackets. Check with your sending tool like how they need it to be defined. But as you see here in a campaign that we had running, we have like this creates hundreds or thousands of variations of the email, like including like the personalization with first name and everything. So every email that we're sending, even at scale, if we're sending hundreds of thousands of emails, is completely unique or almost completely unique. And again, this helps because Google and Outlook can see that you're one sender. So as you see here, this email would say something like, hey, John, I saw insurance patients can easily find you, but cash paying implant patients, for dentists, by the way, can't see you on Google searches. Would 5 to 7 extra implant patients a month be valuable for you? Regards, sending account name. This email, by the way, performed extremely well. This is kind of like the best practice, what I like to recommend. Short and tight and focus on the value that you can provide to someone. Nobody gives I don't want to swear on this internet, but
Gonna be on
nobody cares
YouTube.
about you
Careful.
guys, right? Like we built this, we did this, we are a you guys always have to remember when people read emails. When do you guys read emails? Sometimes you're in the bathroom or you're in bed, right before sleeping. So you don't have the capacity or the interest to know about someone. Oh, we do this, we do this. I don't care. What do you have for me? What can you give me? Right. And that needs to be incredibly clear from the beginning. Right here is a problem. We pointed out a problem. I realize insurance patients can't find it, but cash, this also shows that we know about the industry, right? And then the actual value proposition, great email that worked extremely well. All right, second point, avoid spam trigger words. You can check this with a tool called Mail Meteor. Avoid words like guaranteed and all that kind of stuff, too many dollar amounts and so on. Send us plain text. So this is a little bit of the nerdier one as well. So when you enable open rate tracking, for example, then you basically insert like a hidden link into each email in order to track if the email was opened. Problem is that link is almost the same unless you do really good custom domain tracking and everything as well. But in general, I do recommend you to not use any links at all. And this feature, by the way, not everyone has this, but if you have it, you can do it because then if you send without HTML, for Google and Outlook, they don't even see that you're using a sending tool, which is awesome. We want them to think that we're sending this email manually. So no links, no unsubscribe options, no signature address. So this point here, these 2 points, technically, if you want to be completely fully compliant,
Yeah.
you do need to add these things, right? So this
Can
is like if you
spam.
do, then yeah, if you want them, just keep in mind, unsubscribe links, in my opinion, have the same rule. Links in general, they will have an impact alone because of the subconscious reaction of someone seeing unsubscribe. They immediately think it's a marketing email that you send at scale because this is what we see in newsletter emails. So they know instantly that you're not resending this email manually one by one. Because if you're using Gmail or something, you send an email, it never says an unsubscribe link. So instantly people know you're sending emails in bulk, which also doesn't help with performance. But again, if you want to use some of these things like the business address, at least do it heavily spin text. And in general, we avoid a lot of this. For example, here we literally say best sending account first name.
Yeah.
All
Yes.
right.
One tip about this actually. Someone was
Yeah.
using actually spin tags with 200 quotes in their
Yeah,
signature.
true. I saw that.
So they just like that was pretty fun.
Mhm.
So
Good
they
tip.
rotate, yeah, automatically.
It's a good option, like a good lazy option kind of to quickly add spin tags. All right. Which mailboxes to use? So this is, of course, the field that I'm the most expert in because I've spent a significant amount of my life on these topics. So the key considerations that I believe would be relevant for you guys are, first of all, you want to have it as low cost as possible, especially if you want to scale cold outreach. You want to have it as easy as possible to set up, and you want to ensure deliverability and support. Now, why do I say to support here specifically? Because who will tell you about all these things? Like, unless you want to keep becoming and being a deliverability specialist who looks up new rules every single day when Google Outlook changes something, this nerdy topic of deliverability, if you don't have that, or if you don't want to do that, then you need good support. This leads me to a comparison between the different providers. For example, Google and Outlook manual. So these are essentially the 3 options that you have right now. Google and Outlook manually. This is the process that I followed back then, where I spent over 10,000 a month on Google and Outlook. They made a lot of money with me. Very time consuming to set up, but it takes like 15 minutes or so per inbox. It's very expensive because it's $7 a month per inbox. Unsolicited emails are actually against their policies. Surprise, surprise. Like if you look into their policies, they don't allow cold emailing or doing everything that we do here technically, but I know a lot of us don't really disregard this mainly. No deliverability support, right? If anything, then they'll do anything to stop you, right? Like if They don't like it that you're sending emails to Google or Outlook inboxes. Why would they like it that you use their inboxes to spam cold emails? Like it doesn't make any sense, right? So the only reason why it works is because of staying so much under the radar and everything, but it's a little unsustainable, I would say. Google Outlook resellers is the second options. These popped up like a year and a half ago, like after actually email infrastructure became popular, like Mailscale. Those are also easy to set up, I would say, like email infrastructure, as opposed to Google Outlook manual inboxes. They usually have an average price of, these guys basically resell Google Outlook inboxes, also with an automated kind of dashboard where you can create mailboxes quickly. They usually have an average price like $2, $3 a month. Some of the things that I would consider personally is, again, it's against their policies, but also the way they provide you with these cheap inboxes is often by using some loopholes, edu panels,
Yep.
Indian accounts. Some of them, or many of them, actually, what they do in order to provide them so cheaply, they set up. And then, like, this is like the stuff that you know only when you're so long and deep in this industry. They set up a fake university in Vietnam because then you get a workspace kind of university account where you get pretty much free inboxes at scale.
Yeah.
They have to fake all the data of the fake university, provide all of that stuff so that they can resell the inboxes. So again, why should you care about this? Well, because I'm thinking that you're probably like me back then and want to build something reliable, something sustainable, and something that won't break tomorrow with one complaint and it gets all shut down, right? And so do you if you depend on them. So that's something that I would consider personally. Of course, also here, no deliverability support. So nobody would educate you on these things again, which cause all the issues, by the way. Like it's a good question that someone asked you, what's the deliverability of Mailscale versus Google and everything? And we have a lot of proof and data on this. I actually have a video testimonial, for example, of several lead gen agency owners. For example, Phil, if you guys want to check that later, he had campaigns doing like 23% reply rate, a really good cold emailer with a lot of data segmentation and so on. And he used Mailscale and got the exact same reply rate. Why again? Because deliverability is not a function of the infrastructure anymore. It's a function of this kind of stuff. And if you don't do this and you send exactly the same email, or maybe you have first name as a personalization, but it's still 95% of the same email, you make it very easy for Google and Outlook to see that you're the same sender. Same like when you're using the same signature. I think this is one of the most common things right now. A lot of people use the same signature. John from company XYZ, and then the business address or whatever. It's like you make it so easy for Google Outlook to see that you're the same guy. Like they're smart, right? They have AI and everything. They know you use that same signature across all of those different domains and mailboxes, and the result is bad deliverability. So to summarize again, answer that question, deliverability is exactly the same between different mailbox providers in all the tests that we've done. But you need to make sure that this is all correct. So when people have issues with any infrastructure or anything, in 95% of the cases, because they don't follow all of these rules. And again, I don't blame them for that because it's like nerdy as shit. Like you're like this is like nerdy stuff, Jeremy, isn't it? Like
I
plain
know.
text, no HTML. Like oh
It's a
my god,
nerdy
that's
webinar. So
yeah, exactly. So, anyways, usually email infrastructure, and there's a couple alternatives to Mailscale, are usually easy to set up. They have a much lower price, also mostly against policies because a lot of them of what they're doing is they're renting IPs instead of actually having their own IP spaces. So this is something I think interesting that you guys might have not heard before. If you ever see, for example, them using Microsoft IPs, instantly know because with one Google search, you can check the policy of Microsoft Asia. You're instantly going to see that cold emailing is against their policies. So all of these as well are like one complaint away before getting shut down. And again, of course, no durability support. So as you guys might have guessed, what I'm trying to do is to be the solution to all these things. And so I'm presenting it. And you guys are free to try it out. We actually have a free trial, but with Mailscale, we essentially try to make it as easy as possible to set up. You can literally in 60 seconds set up as many mailboxes as you want. We have the lowest price in the whole market with inboxes as low as $1 a month at scale with the enterprise plan. And then we have a fully self-owned infrastructure, including our own IP spaces. Again, why did we put so much emphasis on this? Because I want to run this business not just today, but tomorrow, and ideally in 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years. And a lot of these people, these other solutions don't really think like that. I want to be able to provide you guys with a reliable infrastructure and setup that works not just today, but also tomorrow and also next year. So you don't have to worry about getting shut down or blocked, which even happens with Google or Outlook, by the way. Google Outlook inboxes constantly get blocked as well for sending too many emails and so on as well.
yeah, and they get
Then the
blocked
last
even
part,
by Outlook themselves. So Outlook
exactly.
prevent them from even sending. It's not like, the recipient
Uh,
is not liking it.
exactly. So the last point here that I want to say is it includes 24/7 deliverability specialists and guarantee. So we actually guarantee deliverability. How do we do that? We guarantee 95 to 100% deliverability for professional inboxes. So when you send to Google or Outlook inboxes, because that's the only thing that's technically allowed in cold email. And the way that this guarantee works is if you ever go below that, even as a result of you not following the rules, because again, I wouldn't want to blame you for it, then we will recover your domains within 7 to 10 days. And if we ever fail, we will either buy you new domains on us, or you can get a refund of Mailscale. That's how we try to make sure that that this part is done, that you don't have to think about it. And in the same way, we have deliverability specialists that you can chat with all the time and ask, hey, should I switch something about my campaigns? Because again, we're sending 100 million emails. We have the data on this kind of stuff, which is crucial. All right, now let's dive into some data. What's the best time to send? So this is actually very interesting, guys. We have the hour of the day here in it was
Okay,
like a usual
what's
time
a
zone,
time
usual
zone? Yeah.
American time zone. I don't know what it was
Okay.
exactly, but I think maybe Eastern
One
maybe.
time zone in the world.
Yeah, exactly. Some time zone. We have the reply rate percentage. So we have 9 till 11. We have good reply rate percentage. Then it drops significantly, guys. So it seems like midday. Maybe people get like, I don't know about you guys, right? But if I work kind of like I'm productive here, and then I'm kind of like get tired somewhere
Yeah.
here after lunch. So maybe this is also why they just don't have the capacity to reply to an email. And then we actually have this huge spike,
Yeah.
which I would pay personally
After
a lot of
dinner.
attention to. Right? After dinner, they're like, let me check. We all business owners are addicted to work. Let's be honest. Like, I don't know about you guys, but I check. I do some work stuff as well in the evening or in the night. So that explains this dip here. So you could adjust your sending times based on this if you wanted. So if you want, feel free to take a picture of this. So that you improve your reply rate by, you could improve your reply rate by at least double if you send only here or here, which is actually pretty crazy. Next one is what's the best day to send? So the best day, this is crazy actually. Best day by far seems to be Sunday in terms of reply rate percentage. So this surprised me for sure. I think my hypothesis here is that this is a function of supply and demand. How many people send on the weekend? Almost nobody. To be honest, even I, like in 99% of the times, never send on the weekends. So I think when you're one of the few people who send on Sunday, for example, you just don't compete with anyone and you're a lot more likely to get a good reply rate. So worth trying as well. Not everything works for everyone, guys, right? So like always try everything out. Try it out maybe to just literally send on Sunday and maybe Wednesday and maybe Tuesday and Saturday maybe even and see if it improves your results. I'm going to do this at least after seeing this data.
Sunday we also have.
Interesting,
So
Jeremy, no? Like crazy,
Sunday's
no?
the best
Like
day by far. It's but
that's
twice
crazy.
the best day. Saturday is the worst day actually for us.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah,
Interesting. Well,
we
see, like
send.
this, not everything is always the exact same, guys, as well, right? That's why test it always for yourself. Okay, how many mailboxes per domain? So we have some data around how many mailboxes people set up on Mailscale. And the average what people choose to do is around 3.8 or 4. So 4 mailboxes per domain. So what this tells you is basically that this is a safe kind of environment that you can use if you want to create email boxes for domains. And the total mailboxes, on average, Mailscale customers have 50 mailboxes. The
Nice.
average actually 70, but the median is 50 mailboxes. And again, you need that volume if you want to contact 5 to 10,000 prospects. And with a normal positive reply rate of like sometimes 1%, if you actually, or 2%, if you're actually really good already, then that's going to ensure that at least you get 50 to 100 opportunities a month. And from those, how many calls are you going to book? You're going to have a drop off again. So at least you then make sure you get 20, 30 sales calls. Again, this also doesn't apply to everything. If you have a super small total addressable market, you target some rich oil sheikhs, right? By all means, you don't need to send 10,000. You're not going to find 10,000 oil sheikhs that want your service. So then obviously send much more personalized emails, lower volume. All right,
Isn't
and
that
that
funny?
concludes
Isn't
my
that
part.
funny
Yeah,
actually that every stats are always like one outsider. Like I've seen like in the
yeah,
previous slide there was like
absolutely.
500 and more. It's just like yeah, those things coming out of nowhere.
I
They're
think
always
it's I
funny.
think it's really because of this kind of stuff. Like, for example, spin tags, the signatures, all these kind of things. I feel like it's because of this, and that's why I've also seen these outliners, by the way,
Mm.
in terms of people having over 10% reply rate, sending millions of emails a month. So I think one
Yeah.
guy sent like 1.5 million emails a month as well, similar to what you had, with over 10% reply rate. But like I can guarantee you, he follows all these rules to a T.
Yeah,
because
well, they
otherwise
have
it's
to.
impossible to get results. They
Exactly,
have to.
exactly.
Exactly.
Otherwise,
Okay,
you would end up
and
with zero.
that
What was the cool
concludes my
picture?
presentation.
The next
Which
picture was
picture?
pretty cool. No, 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 carry on at the
Oh,
end. The
at the
one I
end, right?
interrupted you on.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a
So this is
cool picture.
basically the dashboard of MailScale.
Hmm.
You can essentially add your own domains, guys, if you want, or buy domains inside of MailScale that are also going to be automatically configured with the DNS records for the DKIM, DMARC, SPF, all that stuff. And then you can create your mailboxes if it's 5 or 5,000, and you can then export them in bulk and put them into a sending tool like QuickMail or Instantly Smartly or all these other competitors. So that we don't want to endorse, by the way. No, use QuickMail. Uh,
I like
like
I
these
like
guys
the
don't run the
link.
webinars, right?
Use
Like
the link,
you don't see
guys.
their founders running the webinars, right? There's a reason
That's
for that,
true,
right? Like
right?
here, Jeremy and us, we're in the trenches.
That's right. 10 years,
So,
baby.
anyways, if you guys want to try it out, you can have we're the only provider for mailboxes has a free 7-day trial. We did everything that we could to make it as easy as possible for you guys to try it out, so you guys don't use any excuse. And that's why we even pay for a free domain for you, just so that you can explore it and test it for yourself. So if you want to do that, you can use this link, which I'm going to put in the chat right now. And then I
Cool.
also have something else, which is interesting for the high volume senders, guys. So if you want to really send millions of emails, I got something for you. Can you still see my screen, Jeremy?
Yep. All good.
Fantastic. So if you're a high volume sender, and usually I would qualify that as if you already have at least 100, 200 mailboxes right now, then you can and you qualify for a new unlimited mailbox plan that we're kind of beta testing. So you could literally create 5,000 mailbox if you want without paying per mailbox anymore. Essentially, you would pay less than $1 even per mailbox at scale with that model. We do daily inbox placement tests with that model as well. We have a self-healing mechanism. What does this mean? It means that we do daily inbox placement tests with a generic email, something that needs to land in the inbox. For example, hi, Jeremy, are you coming to the barbecue on the weekend? That email has no sales pitch, nothing. It needs to land in the inbox. If it doesn't, then a domain is unhealthy. And if it is, you can provide us with your API keys of sending tools and we'll automatically stop sending cold emails with them, put them back into a warm up, which usually recovers them within 7 to 10 days. And then they're going to be sent back into the sending pool. We have a AI deliverability agent that checks based on all these new things that come out, like spin tags and so on, and will send you tips, but this is in beta. We're still working on that. So it's going to automatically send an email like, hey, John, you should use more spin tags in your campaign because we've seen that you only use and so on. And then you get a dedicated deliverability manager, much more support that actually proactively checks every day how the health of your domains is and that you land in the inbox at scale so that you don't have to babysit the infrastructure and keep dealing with this all mess. And hopefully even that you don't have to go on the super nerdy deliverability webinars in the future because you know this is just being taken care of. And if that's interesting, again, this is only for high volume senders because this plan costs significantly more. You need to be ready for that type of commitment as well. And this only makes sense if you want to send a couple 100,000 emails a month. But then if you do, then it's the absolute cheapest option. And in my opinion, the best option as well. And you can email me if that's interesting for you. For all the others, use the free trial. You have nothing to lose.
Nice.
Awesome,
So
guys.
I guess it's my turn to share again. All right. Yep, that's the next slide, right?
Yes. Hope you guys liked it as well. Like I think we both dropped a lot of wisdom here that only comes from being in the trenches and seeing all that data because you have to. Otherwise, you're not going
God
to know
damn
what the
it.
best data send is. So
Here we go. I'll also put the link in the chat. I think that's helpful. So for me, I have like a newsletter that probably a lot of people on this call have already, but I think it's my favorite way of communicating. I always share the new thing I discover on the newsletter. So if you guys want to learn all of those things and you're interested in those chats, in in those stats and insights, then feel free to go on it because I like to share them as soon as I find them. Yeah, cool. I think we are reaching now the Q&A. We are at the top of the hour, but I'm happy to stick a bit longer. What about you, Yassine? You good too?
absolutely. Yeah, no, I'd love to
Nice.
answer your specific question, guys. I know this is a confusing topic sometimes. So let's get them all out there. There's no stupid question.
Oh, and by the way, we do also provide now inboxes on Gmail within QuickMail, so you could effectively get them for $3 an hour. We're not doing the educational stuff. We actually just created the whole reseller stuff on our own. We don't do there is no QuickMail University in Vietnam for us,
Yeah.
and and
Important distinction. Yeah, good that you mentioned it.
yeah, and the other thing, I know that because it happened to other people on other products, but basically, if their stuff gets shut down, usually they don't lose the Google account. Like they keep the Google account. However, it's likely that they may actually monitor a bit more the policy about like not sending, you know, any cold outreach. So anyway.
Yeah.
All right, so it's time for you guys to ask some questions. Do we have any questions? Let's see.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions there. We got one from Andy, which is, I think, for me, how important is the IP address for cold email? It's definitely important. We also offer dedicated IPs or shared managed IPs. So the way that we have to set it up so that it doesn't result in issues is we have to set it up exactly the same way like ActiveCampaign or those newsletter type companies. So what we have is if a sender, which is on a shared infrastructure, sends and has too many bounces, or they have spam complaint rates, which you can measure with Google Postmaster tools, or they have a lot of spam words and all of that, we already pause them before even sending 100, 200 emails. And we proactively educate them. So we tell them, hey, your bounce rates are very high. Make sure to verify your emails and so on. And that is how we make sure that the IPs stay clean at scale, even when delivering billions of emails in the future on a monthly basis.
Yep, that makes sense. What I will add to that is it doesn't matter for Gmail and Outlook. I keep getting this question.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
no, this is stupid. Because basically what happened is like when we have Gmail, or at least the way we're using it, we're not using custom SMTP for Gmail. Basically, we are using their API, the official API. And so therefore, you will use the IP of Gmail to actually send. So that's not IP that you can buy. But for custom SMTP and Yassine's infrastructure, that's super, super important. Hope that
Exactly. Yeah.
hope that clarify. Yeah. Okay, next question. Will you provide a written proposal for your service? Probably. It's probably for you. Not even sure what that
For
means.
which exactly? If you mean the unlimited plan, then that is obviously be done on a call to actually make sure that you know all the details of the product. If you're talking about our actual normal software product, it's everything on our website. Mailscale AI is a free trial and all the information you need.
Boom. Good one. All right, another one for the both of us. New domains, do they still have to mature for 30 days before use? Your 7-day trial, a domain would be used right away? Question mark.
Exactly. Great question. So I do recommend 7 to 14 days as a warm up, like I mentioned in this presentation. So technically, though, you can within that time frame, within those 7 days of the trial, you can already at the end start sending emails to your own accounts and so on if you want to check the deliverability.
Yeah.
Like it's not
Good.
going to all land in the spam folder only because you send an email after 5 days. That's what I'm trying to say.
It could, but
If you
obviously it
want,
depends. Depends what
if
you're
you
doing.
send like some crypto scam, Google is
Yeah,
pretty
that's
good
right.
at seeing that.
That's right.
That's true.
I keep saying you can actually send millions of emails with absolutely zero problem if every one of your recipients is happy about the email they're receiving. But that's rarely
Yeah.
and never even the case. So for me, this is annoying. Like when you're actually buying a new domain, you have a 30 days where you're going to go into a blacklist, and we do actually tell you about it because. With QuickMail, we run every day a check to figure out if your domain is in a blacklist. So it doesn't matter if you just buy it or not, but like every day we check for like more than 100 blacklists. And if you appear in one of them, we'll let you know. Now, what happens is like when you buy a domain, especially a .com, there are some domain that doesn't actually fall into this. They will be automatically put into a spam list that is called fresh. And basically, there is a fresh 30, which will actually, your domain will stay in that list for 30 days. Now, does it actually impact your reputation and your your deliverability? And the answer is yes, but very little. So you could use a tool like spamtester.ai. And basically, you send an email and it will tell you, it will give you a score based on what you're sending and remove some of the value points, some points. And because it's basically a spam score that you get. And so sending from a fresh new domain will get you a little bit of that. So the way I do about it for people the way I recommend it for people who actually want to start their cold outreach right away is to basically double. So they buy 2 domains instead of one, and then they start with one domain straight away while the other one is warming up. So that way, that gives them the opportunity to start doing some cold emails slowly, and maybe they will be caught or whatever, but at least they'll get it going. They won't have to sort of like, procrastinate for 30 days because, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do anything. And so basically what I say to people is like, buy the multiply the domain that you need by 2, buy both of them, put them on deliverability AI and let the thing do the work. And basically that's how I recommend people doing if they want to actually send faster.
Yeah, that's a great tip, by the way. Like, I love it. Like, there's definitely, I don't like to recommend it, right? Because a lot of people make these mistakes with the spin tags and everything, but you can technically also send after 2, 3 days.
Yep,
And I've seen it
absolutely.
works absolutely without any deliverability issues. Yeah,
Exactly.
I
It's a
like that
skill.
strategy with like,
If you,
okay, do a couple
exactly.
already, but then also keep others warmed up so that you don't put all your eggs in one basket.
I think it works great for agencies because most of them kind of know what they're doing. And so that's not a
True.
problem. Yeah. And for
Yeah,
new
so
ones,
Jesse's
yeah.
question as well. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
keep
go
going.
ahead. No, that's fine.
Jesse's question is, do Google and Outlook threshold impact the availability of proprietary domain? I haven't seen this, Jesse, because scanning a website and knowing if this is the main domain and everything, like this is billions of data points that Google and Outlook needs to have, and they don't do that. So if you buy a new domain and you warm it up properly, they have no idea knowing if this is like a main domain or not. So I haven't seen any impact on this.
Um, I don't have the
I got a
data for
question for
that.
best email verifier. Maybe you have something there to say, Jeremy.
I
I
don't
know
actually.
you're doing a webinar soon, no?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, we have like a light debounce in QuickMail, meaning that we basically just check for the DNS is actually correct. Like, is there like an MX in your DNS? Basically, like, can you actually send to a server without bouncing straight away? But beyond that, we don't do. In terms of email verification, we use mostly Never Bounce. That's still good on the market. It's still
Yeah.
one of the best. But in terms of finding emails, I don't know. Most of the time, I'm just grabbing what there is, putting them into Never Bounce to make sure it's okay. And the one who actually are not okay, then I'll try to find. There is some ways to sort of like find what it could be. Like you could actually just type for Gmail and it will tell you in a Gmail login, and it will actually tell you if the email exists or not on Gmail. So there's kind of like a few hacks you can do, but I don't bother most of the time. Let's just put it frankly. If the email is not valid, I
Yeah.
just don't bother.
Same on my side as
Yeah,
well. I
that's
would add
another
as
one
well
I
that I've
heard.
used this tool, Million Verifier, other than Never Bounce, also a good option. Never Bounce is kind of like the premium, like the Apple, I feel like. So if you don't mind paying more, then use Never Bounce, definitely. If you want a
Oh,
cheaper option, Million Verifier is also pretty good.
in 2 weeks, we're
And
gonna have the founder of Bouncer. That's another option that a lot of people are using. So we're gonna have the founder of Bouncer coming as well to a webinar. So if you want to stay tuned, just either follow me on LinkedIn or just sign up to the newsletter and I'll let you know.
yeah, and we also got a question here from Ryan. Well, when will the MSK admin portal be available? I'm foaming at the mouth. That's awesome. Great to hear. So if you mean the picture with the admin portal where you can set up mailboxes and manage and everything, that's fully rolled out. So if you just sign up to Mailscale, you're going to see that admin portal and be able to manage and create all your inboxes at scale.
So I missed
We
this one. Who
also,
asked?
that was Ryan, I think. That was like a older question. We also
Uh,
have another one
I
from
got it.
Charles. What's the ballpark range of cost per month we would be looking at to pay you and any other enterprises associated with your services? I don't know if this question goes to me or to Jeremy,
We could
Charles.
both answer.
And
Go for
also,
it.
yeah, so it depends really on how many mailboxes you want on our normal mail scale. We have 3 different plans that go from $79 a month to $200 a month. And then for every mailbox, you pay $1 additional. So that's the pricing there. For the unlimited plan, that's all based on how many emails you want to send. We offer, again, unlimited mailboxes, but it's something that we would discuss on a call to try to find out, okay, what's the volume that actually makes sense for you? And then based on this, what's the pricing that we could do for you, all the additional services?
Nice. For QuickMail, we got different plans. We're currently redoing the pricing. We got We got a form actually, that a survey that I'm actually running this week. But for the inboxes, we offer like $3 a month for Gmail inboxes. They're all set up within 3 hours in your account with 2FA, custom domain tracking, everything.
Awesome. Yeah. Charles, feel free to send me an email to the email that I provided. I'm not going to do many calls this week because, again, I've just had a vitamin blood infusion today in the morning, guys.
Gosh,
But next week, I'd be happy to chat. And we also have another question. Let me see. What tools do you recommend for lead gathering? Well, that's a big question. Do you have something there, Jeremy?
I hate my response. I'm probably going to say I hate it, but they are like basically like two big players, which is Apollo and Sales Navigator, basically. I hate both of them. Although Sales Navigator is probably the safest, best one of the two. I'm more of a guy who think like if you build your list, your own list, and craft it like website scraping or stuff like that, you're gonna have a much better time because those leads won't get hit constantly with the same type of messages. And but it takes time. It's more annoying, and of course, it's much easier to go into Apollo or Sales Navigator and just like hit a few filters. But honestly, the few filters that you have with those tools, they're too generic for doing great cold outreach and laser focus. It's a bit more of a shotgun approach, and I don't like that specifically.
That's true. What was the second one you recommended next to Sales Navigator?
Apollo.
I gotcha. Yeah, same here. I mean, I do think that a lot of the data guys, I don't try to over optimize too much for that because what is the email that Jeremy uses? It's obviously jeremy@quickmail.com. What's the email that I
It's
use?
not.
Yassine at mailscale. Oh, yeah, yeah,
It's not
yeah.
because I
Uh,
actually changed domain. I stick with the
mm,
IO one for the email, but yeah.
yeah,
But fair
mostly
enough, close
guys,
enough.
yeah, true enough. 99 or 98% of people will use their normal name, some variation of their first name and the domain name, just like
Yeah,
I do
that's
as
right.
well. So a lot of these providers, Apollo or whatever you use, they have kind of the same data because it's like, pretty easy
They
to
do the
guess
same
and to
thing.
verify.
You got Hunter
Exactly.
as well,
So
.io. That's
yeah,
pretty good
so
for.
you can use something like there are differences though, like you said, Jeremy, with categorization.
Yeah,
Sometimes Apollo, like they say it's a marketing company, but then it's like a dentist, and you're like, oh my God, what is this? The quality of this data. So it's something to keep in mind. It's
it's
the
really
cheapest
bad.
option though.
Yeah.
You can use this tool called Findy Lead,
Oh yeah,
which like yeah, they're like basically you can then use a free Apollo account, filter all your stuff, get 10, 20,000 emails that look good, and then copy paste a search URL and give it to Findy Lead. And they will also verify it for you for $50 for 10,000 leads. That's still a very good kind of like a loophole, I guess, because they have some enterprise Apollo account, or maybe they're using something shady. Honestly, I don't know what they're doing in the back end, but technically it works. $50 for 10,000 leads is difficult to compete with that.
yeah, and sometimes if you're, especially if you're not in a space, you don't really know how it works. But sometimes they basically just use the same source data, they repackage it differently, and they got some reseller type of deals and stuff on the back end. So I can't
Okay.
really
Most of these
recommend
things are good
anyone
enough.
really.
Yeah, like really, most of these
Yeah,
things are good enough. There are specific cases, maybe if you guys are targeting e-commerce brands, for example, then there are different methods. There's this platform called Store Leads, for example, and then you can enrich the emails from a domain with a tool called Any Mail Finder. I'm going to provide you guys here with these two names, but those are specific things. Like most of you guys will target some B2B company, which is not really something extremely special and easy to find, and then you can use the normal
yeah.
databases.
The best approach I usually is like, you go to Clutch, you find,
Mm.
your small list of 100 agencies, whatever, that is targeted the way you want. You verify it with AI. Basically, the AI goes and watch the website, making sure that the targeting is correct, and that's exactly what you want. And then basically, then you can find the email, like Yassine said.
Zoom
All
info is
right.
very same, like very expensive, I think. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm pretty sure that their contracts start at like 5 or 10,000,
Yeah,
and I don't know
that's
about
something like
Visual
that.
Visitor.
Yeah, and basically, I think their big difference is they're basically fund companies to just ask them. straight away. So they got
What did
like
you
an
say?
army of people. They like things like Zoom Info and stuff like that. They basically have an army of callers, and they basically call company
Mm.
in order to get the information and make sure it's correct.
Ah, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, so they're a bit
Uh,
different. That's why they cost a lot more and so on. And some people resell that information and stuff
is
like
this
that.
your real email? Say yes or no.
Yeah, yeah. I need to talk to John. Is the email
It's
John
great.
at?
Yeah. Why do you need to know that? Well, we sell your data and we want to make sure we sell the right data.
That's pretty much it,
Fantastic.
right?
Uh,
All right,
thank you
shady
for
stuff.
that.
Cool. All
All right,
right.
guys. I think the questions kind of like dialed down.
Yeah, I think we'll leave
Yeah,
it
very
here.
accurate. I agree,
You got
Charles.
Yassine email. You can deduce mine. So if you have any questions, just
Can
shoot
they
them.
actually? It's difficult, huh? You said IO
No,
or
you got
something.
it. Yeah, exactly. As the .io, that's what we were like before. We all renamed
Yeah,
to .com like 3 years ago or something like that.
got it. But it's
Couldn't be
Jeremy, right?
bothered. Yeah.
Not
The actual
not
the
Jeremy dot.
.com.
Mhm.
This is a fun story. The .io is actually on Gmail, and I don't do really outreach on it. But the .com is on Outlook, and I do outreach with it. Oh, and
Mm,
please, if you're sending me email, please make sure you don't send it to privacy at or things like that, because there's nothing that I hate more, like receiving cold email on a mailbox that is specifically dedicated for certain things. I was like,
mm,
nah, that doesn't work. So anyway, it's
mm.
too lazy,
All
lazy
right.
outreach.
Guys, it's been a pleasure having all of you here till the very end. You guys should applaud yourself as well for being in this nerdy webinar. And now take action, obviously. You have all the information, all the data now, which is going to help you be essentially in the top 1% of cold emailers, seriously, because like almost nobody is following these things that we're talking about. So if you take action on this and you cold email, it's still the most affordable way to get in front of your ideal clients. There's no alternative that's as affordable as cold emailing. Cold calling, I don't think you guys want to do 100, 200 cold calls a day. There's nothing more annoying than that. For running ads, it's very difficult unless you are able and okay to spend $10,000, $20,000 a month to retest and build a sort of funnel. And really, there's not much more options other than maybe creating content, which I think you guys also don't want to do, like to create content for 8 months until you finally get the first lead. So cold emailing is still one of the best methods or the best to get started and book sales meetings and get clients.
All right, I'm into that. Thank you, Yassine, for
My
coming
pleasure.
and
Thanks for inviting me.
despite the sickness and the hardship, and thanks everyone for joining. Thank you for everyone who also put their webcam. It was nice to see your face, and yeah, see you in 2 weeks for the next webinar.